Brought to you by Rush TV.
Hello everyone! Happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. I'm your host Tammy Young, and this is a super edition of The Turnbuckle. Thank you for tolerating our increased break during the months. We strive to better get our news and make sure all information is accurate. First, we have a few announcements as that was weird. Seems as if DNS is on the attack as the OCWFED site was taken down without notice. Mr. Sensation and staff scrambled to resolve the issues plaguing OCW's broadcast and websites lately in preparation for OCW's 20th anniversary show and this 2023's Animal House pay-per-view. As matters seem to be getting resolved, the return of OCWFED's website will Mr. Sensation be able to hold it together, as matters between the OCW General Managers Tiberius Dupre, co-GM Ryu Matsumoto, and General Manager Imp seems to be ramping up, as the COO Drago continues to try to get the GMs on the same page. Speaking up GMs next, we have an update on OCW General Manager Imp, as we have received word that Kumiko Tanaka, also known as Imp, has been released from the Manhattan Detention Complex following our previous reports of her arrest due to her attack on OCW Fed owner Mr. Sensation at the Hard Target pay-per-view in New Orleans, Louisiana. Imp, who was transferred to the Manhattan Detention Complex, was rarely heard from following those events. During an episode of Riot, our very own Jack Hoff interviewed Imp, and the information was shared that a release of some undisclosed documents may have helped with Imp getting an early release. Currently, there have been no comments from Mr. Sensation following the reported information, but we will keep you updated as soon as there have been any updates on this information. Speaking of reports in a previous press release, COO Drago Caesar announced the OCW wrestler Cheyenne Lovelace has been heavily fined following a viscous attack on an OCW-fed referee on episode of Riot 612. Cheyenne was quoted as saying the ref cheated Team Tog following a defeat in a match against the Rumble Bellas. In another press release, Mr. Sensation informed the press that Atsushi Hara, also known as Kingu, has also been severely fined following what many are calling an unjustified attack against OCW staff member and commentator Jake Allen, also known as the Speaker Guy, as Jake Allen proceeded to commentate on the OCW Riot 612 main event. A comment was made about Kingu, which led the wrestler to brutally attack the commentator at the end of the show. We have reached out to our reps in the OCW Fed community regarding Jake Allen's condition, but have yet to receive a response. Currently, we are unsure how this will affect Kingu's legacy, but we will keep you updated on these stories as well as others as the information is released. While we are talking about Kingu, let's segue our way over to moments to mention from our previous episode of OCW Fed Ambition. Let's go. Our first moment of the night was a matchup of the minds, as we have Kingu versus Anthony Martin. Fans weren't sure what to expect as Kingu hadn't been seen in-ring for several months following his last match on Turmoil 297 in a matchup against Mad Dog. The matchup was a short-ranged fight as the Kingu had everything Anthony Martin planned to do scouted, leading to Kingu pulling out the win following a bear hug submission. Our final ambition moment of the night is a matchup between Paul Harris versus Alexander Bolek. The two rookies of OCW have been putting on highly rated matches among the fans as the two proceeded, and they did not let the fans down. The match was a heavy back and forth fight between the two fighters, with both men not wanting to give the other an inch. Fans were left wanting more as the match came to an end following a swift attack by Paul Harris for the 3 count. Although these are just a couple of moments from Ambition, if you haven't watched the recent episode, go check it out. But first, let's finish the news. Up next, let's go over the moments to mention from our recent episode of Turmoil 306. For our first moment, we have Deborah Soto, who has announced her attempts to find a new challenger for her OCW World's Women's Championship. Deborah made her way out to the ringside during the Turmoil 3-way women's match. She watched intensely as Bobby Batty, La Tormenta, and Hifumi Mayoshi proceeded to beat the living hell out of each other. The match left fans on the edge of their seats as the battle between the 3 women had multiple close calls, with each woman wanting to show why she would be the best choice for a chance at the women's title. Just when the match seemed it was set to take up the entire of the show's airtime, everything was eventually put to a close as Hifumi Mayoshi was able to pull out the win. Following that impactful match, many people are wondering who will Deborah select for her challenger. And is Deborah able to focus on this challenger as Lotus Flojo lingers over her with the future investment case? Only time will tell. For our final moment of Turmoil, we have Grit and Glory versus the Believers. In the Turmoil 306 main event of the evening, in what some would a possible shocking turn of events, both teams are fighting for their chance to take on the tag team champions. Grit and Glory have shown that they are ready, willing, and able to take on any challenge. As for the Believers, having had troubled waters in the past, could they be able to get on the same page enough to pull out a victory the same as they did against the Perfect Storm? The Believers kept Grit and Glory on their toes throughout the match. But in the end, Joe Deaver was put down with no more chances, ending the match, giving Grit and Glory the win and pushing them into the #1 contender title picture. Those are our 2 moments to mention for Turmoil 306. But as mentioned before, the show is jam-packed with segments and matches, which can all be viewed at OCWFED.com. On to our final moments to mention for this show. Up have the most recent episode of OCW Riot 613. Although Riot has more moments than we can mention here, such as the ongoing battle with Marissa and the House of Faith, the submission match-off between Isu and Victor Carmine, as well as the outstanding match between Sheldon Tremblay and the CCW champion and OCW Kang Dok. For our first moment, we have what could be troubling waters between OCW's tag team Perfect Storm, as Russ Cole seems to be prying open the doors of the Ocean family residence and making himself at home in the mind of Ejitu Quartz. Will Harvey Hamilton Ocean continue to push his concerns to the side as he struggles with Cody Hagan? Will Quartz leave his brother's side to reunite with Russ Cole? Only time will tell which way the tide turns. As for our final moment of the night, we have the OCW heavyweight champion Aries, who made his way out to the ring to announce his new challenger to the OCW heavyweight championship. Fans were intensely waiting to hear who would be revealed as the #1 contender. The heavyweight champion proceeded to announce that he had selected no one to be his #1 contender, as he didn't believe anyone was up to the challenge. The champion was interrupted by Mark Reese, who appeared to challenge for the title, which was quickly shut down as he was attacked by the GSS. Before more damage could be done to Mark Reese, El Parca made his way to the ring to save his former tag partner and to get his hands on Aries. Things have been getting heated between Parca and Aries, but it seems as if Mark Reese could be getting more involved in this situation. The next OCWFED show is set to air on Friday, December 1st with Turmoil 307 main event featuring Talos versus The Last Blacksmith. As OCWFED push into December and the new year, the staff and fans of the OCW community look forward to what happens with these stories and more. Until then, you can keep up with all things OCW at OCWFED.com. I have been your host, Tammy Young, and this has been The Turnbuckle. We'll see you next time.